Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krsna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna Krishna. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Krishna. Thank you, Bhagavatam. So, I want to welcome you very much for these lectures. Let me just introduce them before I start. I started to find a book from Srila Rupa Goswami. Maybe 30 years ago I found this book, and I read it with some interest, but later I found out that it was his last work. After this, writing this book, he retired. He mostly worshipped his beloved deities, Shri Radha Govinda. At that time he had a little hut like this in the forest. It was a hut made with natural materials, bamboo, cow dung, and some reeds as a roof, and or perhaps banana leaves as a roof. And he worshipped the deities with articles from the flowers, mostly flower crowns, flower earrings, and garlands which he made himself, often from gunja berries, some berries which are red and like Krishna's lips, and blackish, have a little blackish thing like the ointment of his eyes. And he became totally absorbed in the service of his beloved deity, and wrote these amazing verses where he expressed his heart's desire to render direct personal service in his original eternal identity to Krishna. So to Radha actually, and to Krishna. And so I was very young in spiritual life, 30 years ago, but I remembered how reading this book somehow touched me in a deeper way, and I couldn't explain why. Then I took the book, I found the book again and again through my reading life, and just 2 years ago I rediscovered it again, and I found out that now, after 50 years of practicing Krishna consciousness, I had been lacking something. As I told you yesterday, there is Krishna consciousness with nectar, or bhakti with nectar, and bhakti without nectar. I can't say that my 50 years were without nectar, but it was a different nectar. It was the nectar of dancing and chanting with thousands of people on these big programs which we had. We have devotees from the Ukraine. Did you know that we had a program right in Kiev where 5,000 military people danced in ecstasy? I mean, there were many more, but the military academy had sent 5,000 cadets, I think they're called, soldiers in training, to learn some culture. So we chanted and danced with them. Yes, and there was nectar of reading the scriptures. I discovered many things, but I can't say that I really caught the essence of Krishna consciousness. The essence of Krishna consciousness is expressed in an amazing verse. Which verse do we actually have on the board? Is it Smataviyam Satatam Krishnam, or is it a Bhagavatam verse? Yeah, good. It's you will see, it's always being mindful of Krishna, having Krishna always in the heart, and as the Bhakti scriptures say, being sad when Krishna is not in the heart. Have you ever heard that our movement is called the movement for pizza consciousness? Or what are we conscious about? Krishna. What does this mean? This means to be mindful, or have the mind full of Krishna always. So that is a deep point, and I want to read today the verse which Rupa Goswami quotes, and then describe to you his amazing process how to develop this level where you always think of Radha and Krishna. You are in a sense no longer in the material world, because you surround yourself only with memories of Radha and Krishna. So please repeat after me. Let me see, we have here Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Smatavya Satatam Vishnur. Vismatavyo najatuche. Sarve vidhi nishedasyo. Etayoreva kinkaraha. Yes, someone else, please chant.
Smatavya Satatam Vishnu.
Smatavya Satatam Vishnu.
Vismatavyo najatuche.
Vismatavya najatuche.
Sarve vidhi nishedasyo.
Sarve
Etayoreva kinkaraha.
Etayoreva kinkaraha. Can we have a Vaishnavi, please? Chant. Also. Smadavya Satatam Vishnu. Vismatavyo najatuche. Sarve vidhi nishedasyo. Etayoreva kinkaraha. Smatavya. To be remembered. Satatam. Always. Vishnu. Lord Vishnu. Vismatavya. To be forgotten. Na. Not. Jatuche. At any time. Sarve. All. Vidhi nishedaha. Rules and prohibitions mentioned in the revealed scriptures or given by the spiritual master. Rules and prohibitions mentioned in the revealed scripture or given by the spiritual master. Syuhu should be etayoho of these two principles. Eva, certainly. Kinkaraha, the servants. Translation. Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. He should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be the servants of these two principles. Srila Prabhupada gives the following purport. This verse is a quotation from the Padma Purana. There are many regulative principles in the Shastras and directions given by the spiritual master. These regulative principles should act as servants of the basic principle, that is, one should always remember Krishna and never forget him. Let us be aware when Prabhupada says here there are many regulative principles and directions. He does not refer here to the four rules and regulations, which we well know, but all these recommendations that are given in the scriptures that help us awaken Krishna consciousness. But he says they should be servants to the basic principle. I think you know. Always remember Krishna, never forget him. This is possible when one chants the Hare Krishna mantra. Wow, what an interesting point. Therefore one must strictly chant the Hare Krishna mantra 24 hours daily. One may have other duties to perform under the direction of the spiritual master, but he must first abide by the spiritual master's order to chant a certain number of rounds. That's how it starts, no? Certain number of rounds. Some chant 4, 8, 16, 24, whatever is your number, this is what you chant. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we have recommended that the neophyte chant at least 16 rounds. This chanting of 16 rounds is absolutely necessary if one wants to remember Krishna and not forget him. Of all the regulative principles, the spiritual master's order to chant at least 16 rounds is most essential. One may sell books or enlist life members or render some other service, but these duties are not ordinary duties. These duties serve as an impetus for remembering Krishna. When one goes with a Sankirtan party or sells books, he naturally remembers that he is going to sell Krishna's books. In this way, he also is remembering Krishna. When one goes to enlist a life member, he talks about Krishna and thereby remembers him. Smartavya satatam Vishnu vismartavyo na jatujit. The conclusion is that one must act in such a way that he will always remember Krishna, and one must refrain from doing things that make him forget Krishna. These two principles form the basic background of Krishna consciousness. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Vacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Askadyane Sadarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Let us ask the question, how does someone look like who always does, or who does what the verse here says, to always remember Krishna and never forget him. And then we can see, after determining what is the goal of our life, how does Rupa Goswami direct us to reach this goal? There is a very interesting verse in the Bhagavatam. The two, they're almost identical, which describe the goal of Krishna consciousness, that is to be absorbed in divine love of Krishna, to be filled with love of Krishna. I'm reading to you the lesser known verse today. It is from the 11th canto, chapter 3, text 32. Here we find how such a devotee looks. He sometimes cries out loud. He is absorbed in thought of the infallible Lord. He misses Krishna. Sometimes such devotees may also laugh. They feel great pleasure. They speak out loud to the Lord as if He's just there. They dance and they sing. Such devotees, having transcended material conditioned life, sometimes also imitate the unborn Supreme Lord by acting out His pastimes. Yes, they may stand on the street and sometimes, go like this, as if they are lifting the Govardhan hill. They're so much identified with Krishna that they act out the pastimes. And sometimes, when they achieve His personal audience, they remain peaceful and silent. What do you think? Amazing personalities, huh? Oh, I'm sorry, you are still resting. Sorry, don't want to disturb you. There's a purport of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Please, my dear devotees, be actively engaging with the text. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has actually explained the symptoms of love of Godhead. Rudanti. The devotees cry, thinking, another day has passed and still I could not obtain Krishna. Then what will I do? Where will I go? From whom shall I inquire? Can you show me Krishna? Can you show me Krishna? And who can possibly help me reach Krishna? Or Hasanti. I'm remembering this. This is very much like our Braj roaming. We were in a. It is late at night. The sky is dark, like yesterday night. It was so dark, and Krishna is determined to steal from the house of one of the elderly gopis. He's hiding underneath a tree in the corner of the courtyard, belonging to one of the cowherd men. But although Krishna thinks that he is completely concealed, he suddenly hears a voice from one of the elderly members of the family. Who are you there? Oh, sorry. Yeah, but that's how he screams, the elderly member. Who are you? I say, thus Krishna has been caught, and he begins to flee the courtyard. When this humorous scene is revealed to the devotee begins to laugh heartily. No? Krishna is there in the courtyard, he wants to steal, but he gets caught by, maybe he makes some noise or something, and then Krishna has to run away. And the devotee sees that, he remembers that, and he laughs. Krishna runs away. Nandanti. When Krishna actually reveals his transcendental form to the devotee experiences the highest bliss. Vandanti. And the devotee says to the Lord, "O Krishna, after so many days, I have finally achieved you." When all of the devotee's senses are thus absorbed in Krishna, the devotee has successfully transcended the material condition of life. This is indicated by the word alaukika, or the transcendental platform. So he is in the transcendental platform because he always remembers Krishna in love. So Rupa Goswami had met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu had requested him to chalk out or explain a path by which ordinary people like you and me can reach this extraordinary state of Krishna consciousness. Rupa Goswami wrote this book, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in which he detailed a process step by step, and he described also the different levels which one will reach through this process, that brings us to this level. And he has described it, he has given a path, it is called sadhana bhakti, or bhakti in practice. This bhakti has two roads on it. There are actually two roads in this compartment. And he has defined what this bhakti in practice does. He has written, Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavasa sadhana bidha nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam riti satyata. He says, execute bhakti with your senses. And then if you do that, that is, you do with your physical senses the activities of bhakti, then this original eternal devotion is awakened in the heart. I will read you the verse. When transcendental devotional service by which love for Krishna is attained is executed by the senses, it is called sadhana bhakti, or the regulative discharge of devotional service. Such devotion eternally already exists within the heart of every living entity. The awakening of this eternal devotion is the potentiality of devotional service and practice. I realize the language is a little complicated, but it says simply that if you do devotional service in practice, sadhana bhakti, where you execute certain activities with your mind, certain activities with your physical body, and certain activities where you also engage your intention, how you want to do this, you reach, actually you awaken this eternal devotion. It's sleeping. A very interesting Christian thinker speaks about an idea which I want to share with you. He says, when I find in my heart desires that I cannot fulfill in this world, I must conclude that I'm meant to fulfill these desires in another world, in a spiritual world. This is what many devotees of you have realized. They at one stage found out, oh my God, I have seen now so many movies, I have tried so many material things, but still there are desires in me which are not satisfied. Let me see where I can satisfy these desires. And this is how you have come to Krishna consciousness. So Rupa Goswami starts also there. He says this bhakti can only be attained when you actually become aware there are desires in me which I cannot fulfill in this world, and you develop an urge, I must fulfill these desires. At that time, his process starts with the teacher. You enter the door of bhakti actually by passing over a threshold where you take refuge with the spiritual master, you accept initiation from him, and you actually serve him. You serve him in many ways. One is by hearing from him, and as you do this, you will slowly enter into the palace of Bhakti. And there, in this palace of Bhakti, you meet a number of activities that help you to awaken your devotional service. Amongst these are the famous 9 processes of devotional service. Who does know one of the processes of the 9? Yes, Shravanam, you hear about Krishna. Kirtanam, you glorify him. Smaranam, what does this mean? You remember him. You sit actually down and remember him. I remember 3 days ago I was walking, and I had chanted all the rounds, and I was walking, and I thought, what devotional service can I do now? And I said, let me remember everything which I heard about Krishna. It was a lot, so I never reached the end of this exercise, but it was really nice. And Rupa Goswami gives examples of these different activities so that we know how to do them. For instance, Parikshit Maharaj attained the highest perfection of devotion by practicing one activity, one devotional service. Who remembers what Parikshit did? He sat down at the end of his life and engaged in a Shravana marathon. For 7 days he only heard about Krishna. That's a devotional service. That's how Rupa Goswami quotes him as the example of someone who only did one thing. He didn't do the 64 other things or 63 other things. And then he gives another example. Shukadev, for his part, what did he do? Kirtanam, he glorified the Lord by narrating Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, he didn't stop for 7 days, he taught. And he attained perfection. Prahlad Maharaj always remembered the Lord. Many don't know this about Prahlad Maharaj, but he would sometimes, he would often be found under a tree where he just sat and remembered Krishna. Or sometimes in the ecstasy of love of God, he would lie in the temple. Do you know what he did there? He didn't look at Krishna. There was no one to talk about Krishna. He was all alone, lying on the temple room, in the temple room. He was not resting. He was remembering Krishna. So this is Prahlad Maharaj. The goddess of fortune served Mahavishnu by... Yeah, what does this mean?
Serving the lotus feet.
Yes, what does this mean?
Massaging the lotus feet.
Wonderful. See, you have to always ask the question, what does this mean? If you only have words in your head, you must have the meaning in your head. She massaged his transcendental feet. We can imagine them. She had oil. Her hands were like lotus flowers, lotuses, and the feet of the Lord had toes, and they were like petals of the lotus flowers. So she went like this. She massaged, and so on. Prithu Maharaj, he worshipped the deity form of the Lord. Many don't know this. Prithu Maharaj was a king, but he personally did the Mangal Artis for the Lord. Akrura recited prayers for him. Hanuman served Lord Ramachandra with great determination. So much that Lord Ramachandra embraced him. There are 3 times where Lord Ramachandra was so satisfied with Hanuman. The first time where Hanuman embraced him, where he embraced Hanuman, was when Hanuman came back from Lanka with the news of, I have found Sita. Ramachandra embraced him during that time, the first time. And the last time he embraced him is when Hanuman, when he rewarded Hanuman for his great service. He embraced Hanuman 3 times. I forgot the when Hanuman had led the armies against Lanka and had annihilated all the demon race. There was an embrace at that time. So yes, Arjuna became perfect just by being the friend of Krishna, and Bali Maharaj displayed full surrender by offering everything he possessed to the service of the Lord. Bali Maharaj actually gave the whole universe to Krishna. So these are 9 processes of devotional service, and Rupa Goswami says if you do these 64, it's altogether 64, including these 9, then you will awaken devotional service. Now Rupa Goswami explained this is more the mechanical process, but there is another process, and he then explained the mysterious Raganuga Bhakti. It's also another, or the second type of devotional service in practice. The difference is that in Vaidhi Bhakti, one concentrates on the conscious use of the senses. Okay, I'm going to do this now. Let me do an artik. What do I need to make an artik? I get a lamp, I get a ghee wicks for the lamp, I get incense, I get water, and so on. And then one goes through the offering everything in beautiful circles to the Lord. One does this every day. You can find devotees here in the temple who do this every single day. Maybe 5 artiks a day they offer. Yes, you find them here. Amazing people. Then the second, so this can be done by someone who really also can forget Krishna. It's possible to do these things and not be mindful of Krishna. But Rupa Goswami says, then you miss the essence. Then you follow all these rules and regulations, but you're not in the essence. You're missing the whole point of bhakti. But then you can, then there is this other path, Raganuga, where it's all about remembering Krishna. There is no time when the Raganuga Bhakti, the spontaneous devotee, will forget Krishna. That's his goal. He always wants to remember Krishna. He is not so much dependent on the external use of the senses. He does it more with the mind. And he needs for this 2 things. One is he needs to have greed, lobha, that he really wants to do it. The activity, the mind, you can force the senses to do activities, but the mind cannot be forced so easily. There are many devotees who say they follow the path of Raganuga, but they don't have any, because no one can check them, what they really do, what the mind really thinks about. But the idea here is, it's you follow it according to an internal motivation. No longer you are motivated from outside. and you need examples how people do this. This Rupa Goswami says, such a devotee should always think of Krishna within himself and should choose a very dear devotee who is a servitor of Krishna in Vrindavan. One should constantly engage in topics about that servitor and his loving relationship with Krishna, and one should live in Vrindavan. If one is physically unable to go to Vrindavan, he should live there mentally. This is the process. In our movement, we usually say this Raganuga Bhakti is for later. It is when you are a little bit purified by the execution of the senses through these regulated Vaidhi activities, then you develop it. This is a good observation. It's a very practical observation. But strictly speaking, these are two different paths. No? They are both there in Bhakti, and our movement, Prabhupada chose to not put so much emphasis on this because he could see the devotees are not yet motivated. They are not so interested in Krishna. They are not so, let us say, so mindful of Krishna throughout the day, and therefore they are. It's better if they engage in regulative senses, regulative activities on the Vaidhi Marga. Yes, so either these two paths. I also think personally that in our movement, because we are also, while we do things remembering Krishna. In other words, when the priests here, for instance, in the temple, I know the priests here, a few of them personally, and I know that some of them, when they do offer their services according to the rules of Vaidhi Bhakti, they think actually of Krishna and how he is worshipped in the same way in Vrindavan. No? How when they get up early in the morning, they think and wake Krishna, they think of how Krishna's devotees in Vrindavan wake up Krishna. I have spoken with these devotees. They think about it, or when they offer an artik in the afternoon, they think how Krishna returns from the pasturing grounds and so on. And in this way, they do what Jiva Goswami, a follower of Rupa Goswami, says. They mix Raga Bhakti, or Raganuga Bhakti, with Vaidhi Bhakti. And this is most properly the most practical way to always think of Krishna. This, to mix in your regulative practices, which you do according to the guidebook of devotional service, to mix remembrance of Krishna very regularly. So this is the path, and it awakens love of Godhead. Now Rupa Goswami speaks about what this love of Godhead is like. The love of Godhead, he says, I want to find this for you, is something which is full of rasa. It is full of such great taste, my dear devotees, that you actually forget the so-called interesting things of the world, including the things you might be at present attached to from the world. He says, Vatitya bhavana vartma yascha matkara bharabu hridi sadvachvale badham svadate saraso mata. That which is beyond imagination, that is heavy with wonder and surprises, and it is relished in the heart, that is known as rasa, the bhakti rasa or love of Krishna. And he gives an example. Krishna's mother Yashoda. She has parental love for Krishna. She actually thinks Krishna or God is my little boy. It wakes him up in the morning, and when she sees that there are marks on Krishna's body because he was out all night and he had met the gopis in the forest of Vrindavan, she thinks these marks are from the previous days, and she complains, why are the friends of Krishna, the boyfriends of Krishna, always so rough and wrestle with him? She thinks he's a little boy. He has nothing to do with gopis or so, with little boys. So don't go with the cowherd girls. No, she is my boy. He's always playing so rough in the therefore I must now give him a good bath and good massage. When Mother Yashoda, are you interested in this, or is this beyond you?
Yes.
Good. She has one mood towards Krishna, that is the Vatsalya Bhava. And this is called the Sthai Bhava, the steady, ecstatic Bhava. But in this Bhava now, different waves begin to appear. The love of Krishna, you must understand, is like an ocean. And just like in an ocean there are different waves and different currents, when you have love of Krishna, there are different waves. For instance, when Mother Yashoda sees Krishna in the distance with surrounded by the cowherd boys and cows, a very, very spontaneous love comes up in her. She rushes forward to meet Krishna. She thinks, I must press him to my chest. So she runs to meet Krishna. And while she runs, her love works so deeply into her heart that milk actually comes out of her breasts and wettens her sari. There is a voluntary movement, that is, she runs forward to embrace her little boy. It's called and then in this voluntary expression there are different emotions, like she cries tears of joy and milk comes out of her chest, which is called a sattvika bhava. No? And while she runs towards Krishna and her tears blind her vision, like a veil that covers the eyes, Mother Yashoda develops also what is called a vyabhichari bhava. She becomes depressed. Why? I waited to see Krishna all day. Now I can't see him. He's right before me, but my tears are blinding me. However, soon her tears, a veil of tears, clears away, and then she sees Krishna again. But this time, seeing Krishna is different from the first time, where she just saw him from the distance. This time, my dear devotees, her bhava, or her ecstatic feelings, are so much heightened. In this way, Rupa Goswami, this is the major part of his book, he describes what love of Godhead is, what are the different waves in it, what are the different currents in it, what are the different emotions. He really gets into spiritual psychology and so on. But perhaps what is very interesting for us to note is that as you practice, that there is a practice how to develop it, and that is detailed in the in this work, Nectar of or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There are 5, he says there are 5 practices which are extremely powerful, and many of us, they focus on these 5 practices. The first is to meet devotees. The second is to hear the Bhagavata, to chant with them. The third is to hear the Bhagavatam in their association. That's what we try to do here. And then there is to worship the deities and to go to places of pilgrimages. This is the process of Rupa Goswami in a nutshell, and the result of it is that you will actually enter into the ocean of devotion with all its waves and all its currents. However, this only works, my dear devotees, when you practice the main principle. What is the main principle? Always remember Krishna, never forget. Are you feeling you are doing this? What could you do to remember Krishna more? Do you have ideas? I want to say, if you have a car, Rupa Goswami's work is like a good car. It can carry you, a car. Let us say, what is a good car? Volkswagen, for instance. It's a good car. It can carry you, but it needs to have fuel. If you don't use benzene, your good Volkswagen cannot bring you anywhere. So you must remember Krishna and never forget him. What could you do to increase this? Is it necessary, first of all, to get some benzene for the car? Yeah. You agree with me. So how can you get, what could you do? To pray to Krishna? I couldn't hear the rest.
To send thoughts about him.
To send our thoughts about, yes. Please, Krishna, I'm trying, but I don't remember you. So, often that's what they do in India. When in India you tell someone, why not become a devotee? Then the Indian will say, pray for me. It requires also some. Then I say, yeah, but you have to also want it first of all, and you have to do something. Then only it will work. So pray is good. Pray is very good. It's when Prabhupada once did a morning walk in San Francisco, and he said in the morning walk something interesting. He said, when we chant, we should chant, but we should also pray to Krishna. Krishna, I'm trying to chant, but I'm failing. Please give me strength. Please give me strength. So what else can you do to remember Krishna?
Association of devotees.
Why does this help? They usually talk about mobile telephones. No, and please, we have to be a little scientific here. I won't accept just formula answers. You have to convince me.
Whatever you are doing, try to associate with Krishna.
Whatever you do, associate it with Krishna. This is, by the way, a very, very practical thing. If you are interested, there is even a verse which the devotee who does follow this path does. It is in the 11th canto. You can write it down probably because you said it very nicely. It's 36, as if I'm properly informed. I think I have it here. Yeah. Yes. Such a devotee who will associate what he does with Krishna. That's a very nice way to remember Krishna. Kayena vacha manasendriyeva buddhyad manava nushita svabhavat karoti yat yat sakalam parasmai narayanayeti samapayetat. No? In accordance with, everyone has gotten a certain nature in conditioned life. So whatever one does according to this nature, with one's body, words, mind, senses, intelligence, or purified consciousness, one should offer it to the Supreme Lord, thinking, this is for the pleasure of Lord Narayan. What do you do? Computer science? Informatic? Yes, IT. Yeah, of course. When you go, this means you go to your office. Do you do programming, or what is your particular brand thing?
Not programming.
Sorry?
Kind of programming.
Kind of programming. A little complicated, yes. A kind of programming. You can see how to associate this with Krishna. For instance, I'm making this programs here to supply some safety for my family, no, and for my life, so that I can pursue Krishna consciousness, no? Or you can think, oh my God, I got a good idea here. This came from Krishna, who said, from me come remembrance and forgetfulness. Anything else you can do to increase your remembering of Krishna? Yes?
Like reading books.
Reading books. Or you can also hear books. I know that Mangala and Tushta, weekly, they have a weekly Sangha where they read about Krishna's pastimes. It's available on the internet. Is it in German language even? Even in deutsche Sprache, my God. You can contact Tushta and Mangala after this, and you can become a member of that reading group. No? They read every day. They read Gopal Champu. And then afterwards one should forget immediately. No, sorry. I was take strong antibiotics there. I'm not. Then you remember that. That's the idea, no? To train your remembrance. Das wäre doch was für dich, Michaela. Nicht? Das ist in Deutsch, bist wahrscheinlich sogar schon Mitglied. Ja, kann man Mitglied werden. Umsonst sogar, wahrscheinlich. Ich weiß nicht, aber ja. So, in other words, if you have Krishna consciousness, it's like a good car. Now use it by remembering Krishna and never forgetting Krishna. I think this is the very important discovery of Rupa Goswami. Before he actually talks about the actual practice, he clarifies in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that this will work only if you are aware of the very basic principle to always remember Krishna and never forget him. This is the process of devotional service. I talked today with one nice devotee, and he said, yes, I was in Vrindavan and I begin to think also I should remember Krishna more often. It's a discipline. At the moment we remember the things we are busy with, our work, our cars, our horses, if we have horses, or we remember the things we are surrounding ourselves with. Perhaps some of you are studying the news because they need to know how to navigate in their work, in life, no? But in Rupa Goswami's process, which awakens bhakti, you do certain things, but you do it based on remembering Krishna and never forget him. And this, by the way, is the fuel both for Vaidhi bhakti and for Raga bhakti. Both only work if you remember Radha and Krishna always and never forget them. Good. Fine, I have reached the end of my class today. Let me see, it was a little theoretical. Tomorrow I will give a class which is extremely practical. We will actually understand how to make use of one very important process of bhakti and how to use it, and we will also hear a little of Rupa Goswami's Utkalika Valari. Hare Krishna. Let me see, do you have any questions regarding this? I see one question, one hand is up. There is our Jai Gopal, there's Gauri, and there's Madhavi. Madhavi. Mm-hmm. Yes, Jai Gopal.
I have a question concerning where you said that actually the Vaidhi and Raganuga Bhakti are two different processes.
Yes.
Jiva Goswami mentions that Vaishnavas are mixing the Raga process into the Vaidhi.
Yeah.
And maybe it's about clarifying with my understanding. My understanding developed in Christian consciousness that without this aspect of Rag in Vaidhi Bhakti, it doesn't really make sense. It is like you can disciplinary focus your mind, your body and the service, but it's like using a muscle and you don't give, if there's no food coming in, it wears out and you get exhausted. But when some certain longing is there in your practical, then it somehow it keeps you going. Or if just the least greed you have is your exhaustion of material life, that this is not possible, I want you, Krishna. So in that sense I feel like, is it practically really separable, or is it really the importance to bring in this aspect of lobha or greed for Krishna?
Mm-hmm. Yes. You must know that there are two processes of bhakti. One is where the taste has not yet developed. This is ajata ruchi bhakti. It is bhakti where the taste for Krishna is just not there. And then there is the second type of bhakti. It is jata ruchi, where the taste has been born. It is there. So how does this birth of taste take place? You remember yesterday you were still coming, I think you were traveling. We shared with the devotees a prayer of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Please maintain me, the devotee prays, by giving me taste. So this taste, how does it come? Of course we can pray for it, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but more specifically it comes when you learn about how the devotees relate with Krishna and how Krishna relates with the devotees. then you become very interested. Oh, I must also relate like this to Krishna. For instance, you hear about Krishna coming home from the meadows, and Nanda Maharaj knows that the cows will not give milk if Krishna does not go and start first to milk them, that the cows will keep the milk inside because they wait for Krishna. So then Krishna, then he wants Krishna to go to the Goshala, but Krishna has just returned. So Krishna, knowing my father wants me to milk the cows, and my father is all and everything for me, Krishna comes and sits, and he puts sandals on his feet, and while he does it, he smiles at Nanda and nods, saying, yeah, I know what you wish, and I'm just dressing my sandals. I went barefoot all day, but now I'm dressing in sandals because I'm a little tired and it's easier to walk with sandals. So I go to the Goshala, and he goes to the Goshala because Nanda wants it, and you hear, wow, Krishna loves Nanda so much. And then you hear, when he comes back from the Goshala and is showered and eaten, Nanda waits for him, and Krishna puts his little hand into Nanda's hand and looks at Nanda again so sweetly. Father, will we go to the entertainment? And Nanda goes with him the steps to the Nanda Bhavan, this house where there is the evening entertainment, acrobats and so on. And you hear this, wow, this is wonderful. And you develop some desire. I want to love Krishna like that also. I want to be close to Krishna like this. This is how the lobha, the greed, appears, And it's so simple and psychologically so easily to be understood. It's because isn't that how you also developed? I think you like mountain biking, so you must have seen someone going on a mountain bike on the top of the Eiger Nordwand, and you thought, I must do that also, and you put your mountain bike in a helicopter and flew up the Eiger Nordwand in Switzerland, and then bicycled on the Eiger Nordwand on the top. It's you see something, and then which charms your heart, and then you want to do that as well. It's called extreme sport, no? Jai Gopal knows extreme sport. So Jiva Goswami makes it very clear by listening about the sweet dealings between Krishna and the devotees, and the sweet dealings of the devotees and Krishna, the devotee develops such love for Krishna. No? This is how it happens. It's simple. You listen, and I would highly recommend. For instance, I want to read at the moment, but I can't find the book in Golokadam up till now. Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where there are these beautiful pastimes, and how the devotees deal with Krishna are described towards the end. And this is how your desire develops. No? Then, while you do your devotional services, you start to mix it. For instance, you chant your rounds. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh my God. I've just started my rounds, 15 more to go. This is one thought. No? But the other thought is, how can I bring some life to my japa? So I could read a little in the Krishna book, for instance, about Krishna, how he goes with his cowherd boys out into the forest of Vrindavan. You read this and then you chant Hare Krishna, you chant and the memory comes back to your mind. Wow, Krishna goes into the forest of Vrindavan. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Oh, you feel so much Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Krishna, so wonderful. And this is how you mix your activity of chanting in a mechanical way. Could be part of Vaidhi Bhakti. Others disagree. They say chanting the holy name is always on a higher level, however it is, whatever your realization is, you mix it, no? And then it gets life. Don't tolerate that your car may be standing before your door for already 30 years, Jai Gopal, because you have not put the benzene in. Some devotees are like this. I get regular descriptions of devotees. They say, I do this now for 30 years, but I have no taste. Yeah, because you lack the fuel. You have to put some fuel in. This is not yet Raga Nuga Bhakti, but it's starting with the principle of remembering Krishna, which needs to be done in all ways, whatever path you choose. If you want Vaidhi Bhakti, to start there, put this principle in there. If you want another path, put that principle in. But put some benzene in your car. Move forward. It's high time. The storm is becoming stronger. If you don't become stronger, it will blow you away. You know, Maya. Hare Krishna. So there was Gauri was also there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, please excuse me if this question is a little bit stupid, but how do I remember someone I do not know? Because you are saying, yes, I can read stories about Krishna, I can maybe look at the deity or look at the picture, but still, for me it feels a little bit like,
yeah, who's that? Yeah.
Who's behind? If I maybe see a picture of you, then I know the person behind the picture and I can relate to it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know the person behind the picture, so it's quite empty.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
I understand completely. Thank you, Gauri. It is a very important question. Do you understand Gauri's question? It's a very important question. There's something sleeping in you, and unless you wake that up, you will remain dissatisfied in your life. The Vedanta Sutra says, love of Krishna is already there, but it is there in a sleeping form, in a seed-like form. The scriptures give an example. It's in the Vedanta Sutra and in the commentaries, which I like very much. It is virility, that is the ability to make a family, is resting already in the bodies of the young children. You know, they just need to grow up. They need to come into age, and then it will be possible for them to also make a family. It is already sleeping inside as a potential. So in the same way, we all have love of Krishna sleeping in us. It's a potential which needs to be awakened. It is there. Or look at a seed. of a tree. Inside the tree, although you don't see it, is a potential for a tree with fruits. You can feel this potential. You can feel this sleeping wave in your consciousness when you are associating with processes like kirtan. At times when you are in kirtan, you might feel, as you sing the names of Krishna again and again, some taste which you have not felt before. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Chaitanya Shikshamrita speaks about this sudden taste which comes by comparing it to lightning in the night. Oh my God! You see something. Oh! I've not seen this before. Have you seen lightning in the night? I think so. When we were young, we often were not able to sleep when there was thunder and lightning, and we might have gone to the window where we were sleeping and saw this beautiful lightning walking over the sky with big steps. So we and then it disappears. In the same way, these even a conditioned soul can sometimes feel these devotional or spiritual inclinations. They announce themselves. They manifest themselves, and they need to be pursued. There is a beautiful verse by Rumi. It is, "You've all heard the voice, haven't you?" It goes something like this. Right now I don't remember the exact wordings of it. It's within us, and that's you find in yourself at times some little feelings. In the book The Living Name, I give an example which I heard when I was someone came to me after a lecture I gave in Frankfurt, I believe. I talked in the lecture about that there is something in us, a relationship to Krishna, which we don't know consciously. And I gave an example that sometimes it is seen that young children, when they're babies during war situations, are separated from their parents, but later they go back and meet their parents. Imagine the situation. As a baby, this, let us say, Simon, was taken away from his Bulgarian or Romanian parents and brought into Germany by the Nazis to make him a Nazi. And he grew up, and the political climate changed. Now he's a bank director, and he wants to know, who are my parents? I don't remember seeing my father. I don't remember seeing his face. So he goes to this NGO, this organization, who brings people who were separated in war together, and he then gets the address, and he is brought there into this little Romanian village, and he is now standing before the door. He knocks at the door, he hears some steps inside the little house, and then an old man opens the door, and all of a sudden he knows, "Father!" And the old man looks at him. "Son!" and recognize, because it's inside, but it's forgotten. the same way, this love of Krishna is there in a potential form. We can all have this. It is some argue, is it there as love, and some people say no, it's not there as love. It has to be given by a devotee, and others say no, it is there. How do we bring the two together? Well, it's there in a potential form. We all can develop love of Krishna. No? Do you? Everyone will agree to this. Otherwise, the group number 1 will agree to it. The group number 2 will agree to it. So there is something there. A potential is there, which needs to be awakened in one way or another. So look more at Krishna photos, Gauri. Sing more kirtan. Dance more. Come more to devotees associations. Talk with them, and you will see it will become very concrete. And you know what? A secret? When you are in Vrindavan Dham and you sit in the dust of Vrindavan, and then you feel it's very real. I think you were in Vrindavan. And didn't you also feel in Vrindavan sometimes? Sometimes. Little, yes. At least something. Yes. Madhavi. Madhava Priya, sorry. I'm taking strong antibiotics, so my mind already doesn't work, but now it doesn't work at all in terms of remembering names.
I just, while listening to you about Raganuga, you said there are 2 principles very important, and you mentioned the lobha and this greed in remembering, and I didn't understand really the second one. Did I miss something?
Yeah, you need association, like-minded association. Yes. In that association, a lot of inspiration is born. Krishna, Krishna. You need to meet devotees who will say Krishna to you. Radha. Yeah, so I am very happy to conclude my lecture here because time is also there. I thank you very, very much for attending this program, and tomorrow we will be very practical. We will hear a verse by Rupa Goswami from this amazing work Utkalika Valari, and then we will go really into a practical way of awakening our bhakti. But today I just wanted to bring the general principle to your attention. There Rupa Goswami says this love of Krishna can be awakened in the heart, and I quoted to you the verse which he uses by the processes of sadhana bhakti. They had two ways, and the principle of sadhana bhakti is to always remember Krishna, never forget him. And we did we put our collective mind to task how we can remember Krishna during our stormy days, no? And this principle, by the way, is there in the 2 forms of sadhana bhakti, Vaidhi and Raga. It's the basic principle for both, no? It must be there in both. Hare Krishna. Gaura Hari is ready for his announcements. Please.
To tune us so nicely for the World Festival. Now we have like the direction to move forward. I would like just to introduce few devotees of our team who will serve in Golokadam. And the first one I would like to introduce, maybe many of you know him already, is Ram Gopal. Ram Gopal, he is very, very kind, a very, very big heart, and he is taking care of the registration. So for all those who did not register yet, please go and get his darshan. Nice time. And another person I would like to introduce is Bhakta Elias. Yeah, actually for Ram Gopal, we do not want him to have to stay the whole festival behind the registration table. We'll be happy that most of you can register, and then you can also go through the festival happily. Another devotee is Bhakta Elias. If you could just stand up. Bhakta Elias is kind to give his energy also for the children program, but obviously he cannot do it alone. He has a lot of games, a lot of things that can be used for the children, but he will need definite assistance from parents. So please, if you like and can, offer a little bit of your time for the younger generation, approach Elias, and he will be able to a little bit check out who can do when, and give you all what is available in Golokadam. We will need your help also for prasadam distribution, especially lunchtime, because we will have 2 lines of service. Any one of you who like to cooperate to give a little bit of your service time, you can do that easily at lunchtime for prasadam distribution. Today we have a wonderful program set up. We will start in the temple room with some kirtan from 11:30 to 2 o'clock. We have many talented singers who will be there. And we have also Mahendra Prabhu, who will give simultaneously a seminar or a workshop, actually. It will be practical. It will be in the bar house. This is the house that you have on the way to the guest house. And this is on the topic of approaching the Holy Name in a prayerful way. So those 2 programs will be in the morning, and then from 4 to 6 in the afternoon we will continue with Kirtan, and then Maharaj will tell us more about Krishna. We have Krishna Lila Katha, so we will hear more about this person we want to remember. And following what we heard this morning, whatever we will do today, we'll try to add this element of remembrance of the Lord to really bring life into our spiritual practice. Last, we have some books for free for you. You can see them there on the table in front. This is books about a devotee. Her name was Sadanandi. She was actually serving His Holiness Sachinanda Swami for many years as secretary. A very, very sincere soul. She left her body already quite some years ago. And this book had been done as memory of her service, of her attitude. So any one of you who would like to read it, it's for free, it's on the table outside. Please take, we have a lot of them. So if you want, you can even take 2 and give as a gift to someone. So we wish you a wonderful day, and let us pray and try to always remember Krishna and then forgetting. Hare Krishna.
Good.